All right. Well, should we head into some Easy Rider commentary?
All right, yeah, let's let us do that. Okay.
Now I had to start off talking, like, since we're into Easy Rider. I have to talk a little something that kind of, this movie starts very abruptly. Whereas it's kind of almost, the way that I described it is it feels like a movie that is like we're coming in late to see the movie, and like we're about like a couple hours too late for the start of the film, and we're getting the end. And that's how that's how the start of this movie feels like to me in Easy Rider. It just you're right there. Yeah.
Starts at full throttle and you miss the first half of it. And there's a reason for that.
So you have there's that, because you kind of start right in on this drug deal that Captain America and Dennis Hopper's character is Billy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Billy. And it's right in on a drug deal that they're finishing up, and they end up getting paid for it, and then it's just kind of this adventure. And for me, I almost would like it's like, man, I wish they would like have backed this up just a little bit, or like maybe they would do a prequel to Easy Rider. I don't know, but it starts so suddenly, but it's it kind of works for the film in a way. And another thing that's kind of in a similar fashion to American Graffiti is it also has kind of a awesome soundtrack, and but what's different is that
of course, Robert's dad has the album.
Close to my heart.
Yeah. So whereas George Lucas was focused, where he specifically built scenes around the music. From what I understand in Easy Rider is that the guy that was editing the film was like, he was so bored out of his mind editing the film that like he would listen to rock music as he was editing, and that was the music they ended up using for the film.
Before we get any further, let me just I'll just give I'll give the quick synopsis for Easy Rider, and then we can just take off from there. Wyatt, Peter Fonda, and Billy, Dennis Hopper, two Harley riding hippies, complete a drug deal in Southern California and decide to travel cross country in search of spiritual truth. On their journey, they experience bigotry and hatred from the inhabitants of small-town America, and also meet with other travelers seeking alternative lifestyles. After a terrifying drug experience in New Orleans, the two travelers wonder if they will ever find a way to live peacefully in America.
That's actually, a pretty spot on synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert's right about the way the movie starts. It's like you missed the first reel of it.
Right. It's very abrupt, where it just kind of like drops you in, and like it's already the drug deal, and like.
It's almost like it's like it's at the climax, or like the end of the climax, and you're getting the epilogue. That's what the movie kind of feels like to me.
Well,
that's a good way of putting that. Yeah.
The Dennis Hopper liked was about 4 hours long, and they started trimming, and
Dennis Hopper directed this movie, right?
Well, depends who you listen to, and unfortunately, they're all dead now.
Yeah.
Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper, and who really takes credit? I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he passed away recently.
One of the writers?
Yeah.
Well, it says here, the screenplay was done by Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper, and Terry Southern.
Yeah, and they interviewed Jerry Southern a few times, and he kind of scoffed at Dennis Hopper. He would say it's almost impossible to overstate Dennis Hopper's contribution to this movie, yet he does it every time he talks about it. And he ad-libbed 6 lines, and 3 of them made it to the cutting room, made it to the movie. He still wanted writing credit, so there was a lot of controversy about it. But the movie, can I fill you in on the background that you guys don't get to see because it's been lost to the cutting room? Is that an appropriate place to start? So Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, Wyatt and Billy, they're a couple of stunt riders in a circus. And they get ripped off by the circus. They're disillusioned. And they on a whim somehow, and I don't remember exactly how they set up this drug deal. And they go down to Mexico, they score the coke, and they bring it back up. And some of that 4 hours that they've cut out was a very dramatic part of them being the stunt riders. Some great chase scenes through the Mexican forest where police helicopters chasing them. And the billboards, the old Burma shave billboards, are giving you part of the story as they're riding by. But it was too long of a scene to leave in the movie and try and get the movie down to, what did this one run? Call it an hour and a half also, roughly.
Yeah.
He said the only way to save it is just cut all of this. Now, if you rented, what did you rent, Robert? The Netflix or something?
I rented it through Amazon, yeah.
Okay, that has a little bit more. If you watch the TV version, I mean, boom, you see Peter Fonda stuffing the money into the gas tank. And you're going, what? That's even worse. At least the one we had a little bit of the deal. And you see him selling the coke to, did you guys catch who that was in the Rolls Royce?
Yeah,
Bill
Spector.
He's going to wind up doing time. Mark my word. Oh, wait. But not the but again, without jumping too far in, I really identify with this movie because I've been riding Harleys since the 70s. And Robert helped me build one. And and again, it's very realistic, except for the whole, running drugs cross country and stuff. The racism, the animosity towards that lifestyle is very real. It starts out very early. You see them they pull up to the motel and sign's got the vacancy sign. And while they're there trying to check in, it flashes to no vacancy. I've had that happen. You have to stop outside of town and call ahead and make a reservation and roll into town. And then, hey, I'm here. I've got the reservation. Here's my number. There was a lot of prejudice against, I never had long hair like that and stuff, but just riding a lot of chopper, whether it was jealousness that you're living an alternative lifestyle, whether it's fear, out not wanting to accept something out of the norm. So what they experience is very believable. But that's a little bit of the backstory to why, as they edit it down, why you drop in on reel 2 of the movie, basically. And they think all of those previous scenes have been lost. Nobody has ever found them. And this was the 50th anniversary this year, and it would have been a perfect time to find them and miraculously restore them. But it really does start on reel 2 because there was no way to edit reel 1 down and get it to fit the time frame.
Yeah, that's interesting too because what is it? Dennis Hopper's character Billy always refers to Peter Fonda's Wyatt character as Captain America. And it's like you don't really, you kind of don't understand like why. I mean, you might be able to infer because because he has like the American flag on his jacket and things like that, but like it ultimately doesn't really make sense. But then having that knowledge of they used to be stunt writers and or performed in like a circus, then it kind of does make sense.
Yeah, and they were named after Wyatt Earp and Billy the Kid.
Right.
These names were very carefully chosen to fit the renegade lifestyle, if you will. Just want to give a real quick nod to. I don't want to give it yet because apparently I've lost my page. Sorry about this.
That's
The
okay.
problem with live TV.
Or somewhat live.
Yeah.
Robert, could you? I'm just getting the bottom half of your. Yeah, there you go.
I just saw it. Trying to find the guys who built the bikes. Cliff Voss and Ben Hardy were the two guys who built the choppers. They never get credit for building them. They were a couple of black motorcycle builders down in the Los Angeles area. They put a couple of bikes together. They had some input from Peter Fonda, but they built the bikes, and they never got the proper credit. And they built probably two of the most iconic motorcycles ever in a movie, more so than Electra Glide in Blue or any of those others. I've got a pair of die-cast ones on the mantle. I've got a poster of them in the bedroom. Not the kind of style I would have ridden. I liked apes. I wouldn't have gone with the flashy red, white, and blue paint job. But anyhow, just a quick nod to those guys. If I wind up on the cutting room floor, that's okay. I just want to make sure I give them credit.
Right. I remember you guys.
Yeah.
Let it never be said, I don't remember those guys.
Yeah. It just took me a while to remember who I was trying to remember.
And going more towards the movie side of it too. The characters are kind of interesting in how they end up being kind of friends because they feel like they're very different. While they do live kind of a similar lifestyle, they are very different in a lot of ways. Peter Fonda's character, Captain America, he seems more contemplative and like he's looking for a place to kind of just be like settle in and just kind of enjoy the land and kind of enjoy life, but like in a sensible way. Whereas Billy, played by Dennis Hopper, he's a crazy person in a lot of ways. He's kind of as are most Dennis Hopper characters. He's kind of a crazy person, and it seems like, and how they end up like becoming friends and doing something like what they did, this drug deal. It's like you kind of don't want a guy like Dennis Hopper, with you because they're kind of you never know about them.
It's the yin and the yang of the relationship. Mm-hmm. It works. But yeah, Peter Fonda is very mellow, man. Nice pad you got here.
Right.
And Dennis Hopper's suspicious of everybody. A little sketchy, little,
Right. It's like
interesting.
In that first like farm they come upon so they could fix the tire. They come and like have a meal with the rancher and Peter Fonda's character is like, man, it's like he almost speaking enviously of this man's life where he has his wife, he has his family, he has his land, he's completely self-sufficient. Not in the way that that he and Billy are kind of self-sufficient, but more like in a more like natural kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
That that he somehow that he covets, in a sense.
Yeah. You have that, and then they come upon whatchamacallit. I've read the character's name, but that other kind of cult hippie that they come across.
Like,
oh yeah, the commune guy.
Yeah, the commune guy.
That's Luke Cass.
Okay. Yeah, he's whereas kind of that's where the suspiciousness of Billy kind of comes out, because in a lot of ways it's that character, the commune guy, is kind of it seems like a mixture of both Billy and Captain America, where it's he's kind of this mellow but kind of wild man that lives off the land and is kind of, but he's also kind of suspicious of society. So it's kind of like this one character is kind of a merger of those two. But it's kind of he kind of rubs Billy the wrong way, and they're even while he is kind of being nice, that they're, oh, you gave me a ride, and he's kind of oh, I'll go ahead and I'll fill up the tank, and he's like, if he looks right in the gas tank, he's gonna see what's going on, and it's and he's like, you can't trust him, man. It's kind of
very kind of paranoid, drug-addled kind of mindset.
Yeah.
But their entire life was in that gas tank. So, and I don't know if we covered it, they do the big drug deal, and Peter Fonda puts it all inside of a Tygon tube with cork ends, and all their money is in there. And here they've got this total stranger pumping gas into the bike. And Peter, again, throughout the movie, he's very, it's cool. And Dennis is always sketchy, nervous, like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, just, jumping around.
I've always liked that expression.
Yeah. And at whether it's the farmer who let him change the tire or at the commune, again, Peter is envious of the calm relationship, and the soil isn't rich at all at the commune where they're planting the seeds, and
right.
Dennis is going, man, they're wasting their time, and Peter goes, no, they're going to make it. And by the way, at that commune scene, the little 4-year-old girl is Bridget Fonda.
Oh, wow.
If anybody cared.
Yeah.
So, and then, but they're, again, it's the yin and yang that makes that relationship work for those two guys. And he's the one who gives them a little LSD to share with the right people at the right time. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're back on the road again. And they, Dennis couldn't wait to get on the road because he wasn't happy with the way he was being treated there. He wanted full privilege right away, and apparently it had to be earned. And so they get back on the road, and they're sleeping at campfires. After that first hotel scene, they never try and check into a hotel again. They pull off the road, and the bikes are always in the campfire scene. And there's a reason I point that out. At this point, I'll tell you, I'll keep you in suspense. I'll build you up to it.
Because then so after this, they go on the road, and then the next place that they end up, we see them at a at the end of a parade, and they're kind of messing around with the parade, and it's they end up getting in trouble, because they are not part of the parade and are ticketed, and they get thrown in jail.
Oh yeah, parading without a permit, I believe the charge was.
Right. And this is where they meet one of, I think, the great side characters in the film, played by Jack Nicholson.
Ah, yes. Yes.
And he's kind of like this alcoholic, scummy lawyer. But he's also like
kind of redundant. Scummy lawyer.
Yeah.
To all the James thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But the they kind of, similar to how things work out, where it kind of similar to the relationship with Captain America and Billy, he's kind of, cool, calm, collected. That Billy is kind of, crazy. It's like, come on, man, you hurt my friend. Like, what are you doing? And like, they kind of get off to a rocky start, but then he works to get them out of jail and kind of get out of that and get out of town. And he ends up traveling with them because he's kind of, he's looking for something different, looking for an adventure. And he ends up being kind of like the third man of the group almost,
Right.
where he just really got along with the characters, and it's like, and wanted to be a part of what they were doing. And it was kind of I would say, like, this is probably like, he was one of the other characters. He was my favorite just because I felt like, yeah, he belonged in the group. He was just a cool guy.
He was so out of context to the other two, yet he fit in. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was an ACLU lawyer, and he had always wanted to go to Mardi Gras, and he had never made it past county line. And he pulls out a card for House of the Blue Light, and who's the girl he wants to talk to? Madam Tinkertoy. House of the Blue. They give a street address in New Orleans for the whorehouse.
Right.
And that New Orleans is now a Sheraton hotel, so you can still get a hooker there if you need one. Anyhow. and so then it's interesting. Peter Fonda goes, "Do you need a helmet?" Peter Fonda puts on his helmet. Jack Nicholson puts on his old college football helmet. And Dennis Hopper never wears anything but his hat.
Right.
So, and we, in 69, various states have helmet laws, but apparently that was never an issue for Dennis Hopper. But they make Jack Nicholson wear the football helmet, and they bitch back him on the back of Captain America. And the three of them just make a perfect scene,
Right.
Yeah, he really brings. I think that's when the movie really starts picking up speed and feeling like, okay, well, if you drop me in on reel 2, it was a lull, and it's slowly ramping up. And once Jack Nicholson comes on, boy, okay, now I think I can. The train's going downhill now in more ways than one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brings a lot to the movie.
And this is kind of like where, when you were giving the synopsis, Andy, it was talking about, the bigotry and the racism, which is not really in the case of this film. Like, I didn't, that's kind of like the wording there's a little odd, but the animosity towards bikers is kind of like what we see in the film. And that's where the, bigotry in a sense to bikers. And on the way to Mardi Gras, there's that scene in the cafe where you have all the, these kind of small town, on the way to New Orleans, and it's like, kind of, looking at them funny and all this. It kind of, you have the girls kind of on at these three, and you have everyone else in the cafe. It's like, they're, can't wait to, do something to these guys, and it's a very tense scene in a lot of ways.
And those 6 girls, they could have easily been from Mel's Drive-In on American Graffiti. They are cut looking. And you got the 2 bikers, and you got the table full of rednecks. And to make sure those rednecks, they were genuine locals from that little town. Mm-hmm. And to get them fully worked up, full of hatred and animosity towards those bikers, they knew it was a movie they were filming. but they told them, yeah, in the movie, those guys had just raped and murdered a girl in the past town. They really wanted those local rednecks to hate those bikers. So to make sure they brought out all the brim and fire, they told them that the movie was actually different than it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were ready. Well, they did go out and exact their revenge a little bit later, but there at the restaurant, it was tense.
Right. So yeah, so they're method acting basically.
Yeah. I forget, but locals from that little town.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because it was right after that. That was kind of one of the, as you said, the kind of the descent of the movie, where it's like this to me was, I thought, kind of the saddest part, where because they end up leaving that town and go and camp for the night as they had done many nights before, and those same people from the town end up walloping them with crowbars, and they end up killing Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, and beat them to hell, but they were able to survive, thankfully. But it was kind of a sad end.
Switchblade on them.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of a sad end, because I felt like they lost out on one of their own.
Mm-hmm.
But they take his wallet because George would have wanted us to.
Yeah, that's right. So they end up like living out his fantasy because that's what George would have wanted.
Right.
Yeah. But they do have plans to come back and take him back to his hometown for burial. That's their plans.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they leave him there for the moment. They're still on their route. Yeah, I like the movie, but yeah, it starts getting a little grim when they kill George or Jack.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and like that, the whole, like, after they go to the whorehouse, and then they just they decide to go and walk around during Mardi Gras. I thought it was that was another weird kind of tonal shift for me, because it was more like the kind of, it wasn't like the, what is it, the high production value like shots that we were used to seeing, and it was more of like them just like kind of a camera person just like kind of following them around on the streets of New Orleans.
And yeah, the back streets, not the big glitz and glimmer. And by the way, those two girls, the working girls, were Tony Basil and Karen Black.
Right.
Hey, Mickey, that song.
Yeah. I thought that was really weird, by the way.
and they're using George's credit card because he would have wanted us.
He would have wanted it that way.
Yeah, and it's not what they want, so they leave Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, this was their whole goal up until this point in the movie, was to make Mardi Gras, and they get there, and this happens, so much in life. This is what I want. This is my goal, and you get there. Wow, this isn't at all what I thought it would be.
Right,
so
reality doesn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, they're disillusioned, so they go to the cemetery, which is where it's always been my lifelong dream. Well, I don't care if my wife might walk in. Yeah, let's go to the cemetery with hookers and do drugs. But that's what these guys decide to do. And it's a bad trip. So, and before they got all the cinematography special effects that they have now, like, and with the budget they had, that was how they did a bad trip.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole thing. They dropped the acid, and they had a tough time doing it. And I think Dennis Hopper antagonized Peter a little bit to get him into the spirit of the bad trip by talking about his mother, who had killed herself 10 years earlier.
Oh, geez.
So like they had told the locals, to make sure you get the right emotion. Hey, pray to this statue thinking about your mother who killed herself 10 years ago. So a little grim at times.
kind of messed up.
Yeah, but that explains so much for me because I was wondering why during the whole trip, the bad trip scene was he was pressed up against the statue, and he was kind of venting as you would to someone who's on their deathbed, or just kind of be why'd you do this to me? But that makes a lot having this new information definitely puts that into context.
A lot of in the initial cut, there were a lot of premonitions or flash forwards going on.
Right.
Through the entire movie, after all the editing, only one survived. And if you caught it, it happens during the bad trip.
Yeah.
Fire on the side of the road.
Right.
And see, when it came to that scene, I didn't catch it as a flash forward until the end of the movie, because I thought that was them. I thought they had burned George's body, just to kind of, and that's what initially what I had thought. And he had felt guilty because man, we should have done something better. George deserved better, and we're taking his credit card, and we just burned his body, and so he was thinking back to that point. But it wasn't until the end of the film where I was like, oh, that's okay. That's what he was actually he was seeing his own death in a lot of ways. That was kind of where
but George would have wanted him.
Yes, that'll be the constant refrain. George would wanted it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they do the bad trip, and then we go quiet. Okay, so then they go back on the road, right? Mm-hmm. And that's when they're sitting around the campfire scene. And out of kind of seemingly nowhere, Dennis Hopper goes, "We blew it." Did I skip too many? I think we're at the right scene, right?
No. You're right.
Yeah.
That's
and so at that campfire scene, the bikes aren't in the background. And there's a reason for that. So just bear that in mind, that at that scene, the bikes aren't in the background. And again, through editing, so much had been shot. Dennis Hopper just all of a sudden goes, "We blew it." What do you mean, man? So they're still on they're going to continue their journey on to Florida. New Orleans wasn't what they wanted, which is understandable. And Florida isn't going to be any better. And they're out on the road through rural Alabama, probably, and they meet the rednecks. Mm-hmm. Have we jumped too far too fast, or is this an appropriate time?
No. We're right. No, we're right on. We're right on schedule.
And the guy, and back in 69, 70, pickup trucks used to have shotgun racks like they show. I know you wouldn't see that today, but that was very typical. Mm-hmm. And the redneck pulls it down and points it out the window, and I forget the exact dialogue, but he's just supposed to scare him.
No, this is dialogue that Dennis Hopper gave him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He flips him the bird, and then, the rednecks were just trying to scare them, but somehow, it just jumped out of my hands and it went off.
The movie posters, that's a very famous poster, Hopper's Finger. So he's sitting there riding along and he's flipping the bird. And boom, the guy pulls the trigger. And Peter Fonda sees it and stops and turns around. And if you've never turned a bike with that much stretch, that much rake, these weren't actors who just kind of pretended to ride. Those are not easy bikes to ride. Dennis Hopper had very narrow handlebars, and Peter Fonda had a lot of rake and stretch, and he turns it around, and now he's going back to rescue his buddy, and the rednecks realize, hey, we can't leave witnesses. So actually, Peter Fonda goes back, sees Dennis Hopper is not dead yet, but seriously wounded, and Hopper jumps on his Fonda jumps on his bike, and the guys are coming back on the truck, and they blow him away. So they had 2 of each bikes in the movie, and they just destroyed 2 of them. The other 2 bikes get stolen from the movie set, and they're sitting around and they're having a rap session. And it's rumored the drugs they were doing in the movie were real drugs, and it's very possible because this was the 60s.
Right. And
all of a sudden they go, shit, we haven't shot the final campfire scene yet. Well, we don't have the motorcycles anymore. That's why the motorcycles are not in that final campfire scene, is because they had already been stolen.
Oh.
Now, I wasn't there. I don't know Peter, Dennis, or the other writer personally, but it's good. It's good stuff, even if it's not true, right? Let's go with that.
Yeah. This movie kind of like it. Just as suddenly as it begins, it suddenly ends.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a very fitting way, in kind of how everything kind of comes together. I think it's very fitting.
I really like the movie. It's so real, and the prejudice, the hatred, the flat tire, all that is so been there, done that kind of thing. And every time I watch it, it's like, I hope it ends differently this time. That end, I watch it and I just, oh God, I hate the ending of this movie. I really like the movie. I don't want the guys to die that way. Well, I don't want them to die, but it's a movie. Dennis Hopper in it, so he has to die.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched a Dennis Hopper movie where he lived at the, he's alive at the end.
About that, because after this movie, I said, let's watch something a little bit more up. It does. It seriously brings me down every day. I know how it's going to end. I mean, before the credits, I know those 2 guys are going to die. I watch it every time, and it's like 12-year-old waiting for Santa Claus to come. Maybe it's going to end differently this time. Oh, they died again. But I still enjoy the movie in spite of that.
I think the only movie that Dennis Hopper that I know that he survived in at the end was Flashdance.
Flashdance?
Was it Flashdance or Flash something? I always forget the name of this damn movie. Flashback. Thank you.
Robert's showing his inner movie preferences. Flashdance. You know what he's watching on the other half of his split screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was a good movie. Again, another very low budget movie. They had about a $400,000. Are we done? Well, I guess we're done talking about the movie because we killed our 2 main characters.
Yeah.
Had about a $400,000 budget, so almost half of what American Graffiti had. They spent a lot more money on music rights for this one. And again, it was funny, like Robert said at the opening, the film editor watching hours and hours of motorcycle. It's like watching somebody else's home movies. My God, would somebody just hit me in the head with a railroad spike or something? So the guy was playing music just to keep awake. Whatever, I think it was at his sister's house and he had her 45s. And slowly certain songs became the songs that, hey, Steppenwolf, Born to be Wild fits really good in this opening scene. Actually, that song was initially sequenced for the chase scene through Mexico where they had the billboards that had part of the story, but they moved the song because I can't hear that song and not picture ape hangers and flying in the breeze. But Bob Dylan didn't want his music used in that movie. So even though they used a few Bob Dylan songs, they had Roger McGuinn cover them with Bob Dylan's permission. And I think everybody else was pretty good with the music.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'm just looking at some notes I had real quick. That's, you know, it was a good movie. It's very believable. I hate that ending. Yeah. But it, you know, a lot of bikers.
Yeah, I get it. You know, I'm the same way with Titanic. You know.
How about you guys? You know, was that the first time you had watched it, Andy?
Yeah, this was my first time watching Easy Rider.
Were you starting to feel? You know, sometimes like, I don't know if you want to say rooting for the hero, but you kind of want him to make it, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't expect for the ending that we got. You know, I thought that, you know, it was just gonna end on like, I just didn't expect it to end it the way it did, like so abruptly and so, kind of on a down note. But hey, I mean, I kind of understand how you feel about how, you know, every time you watch it, you kind of expect something different to happen. You know, 'cause I'm the same way with Titanic. You know, because I'm expecting, every time I watch it, I get towards the end. I'm always expecting Rose to let Jack on the door because there's room enough for Jack on the door.
She's the villain of that film. I'm telling you, Andy.
I'm telling you, there's room enough for Jack and Rose on that door. All right, he didn't have to die. Damn it.
I wanted Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper to make it to Florida, dye their hair blue, and ride a jazzy scooter. You know,
there you go. There you go. See, I would prefer that ending.
The alternate ending.
Yes.
And they'll supply the old folks home with little blue pills or something.
There you go. There it is. Right? If they ever, before, Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, passed away, that would have been a great follow up.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to be very clever about the title, but
yeah,
it escapes me at the moment.
Another, probably a better biker movie to watch with Peter Fonda in it is The Wild Angels. It came out about 3 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also fairly not near as well known as Easy Rider, but also fairly iconic biker movie. Well, what's a little funny, and neither of you guys got to meet my dad, who was pretty straight-laced. When Easy Rider came out in 69, I mean, there was no mistaking where they got their money from and stuff. My dad comes home one day from work, and he had gone to Sunset House, and he brought me the Easy Rider poster to put up in my bedroom of Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, full color, big 2 foot by 3 foot poster. And it's like, this is so stinking cool. And I'm just looking at him going, wow, did he not watch the movie? You're not in court. No, I just know you like them damn loud contraptions, I thought, I'd show you. So, and I don't have that one anymore, but I do have a black and white version of that poster hanging in my bedroom. And like I said, I've got the 1/18 scale diecast motorcycles. It's a great iconic movie. Nobody anticipated it grossing over $60 million. But damn, that ending gets me every time.
Yeah, it's kind of like I felt kind of depressed at the end of it because it's like, yeah, you're rooting for those guys to make it because they're so damn likable and like it's they didn't deserve the what they got.
Yeah, yeah. And you get wrapped up in them, and you get wrapped up in the story, and what's going to befall them next, and you don't expect it to be a double blast out of a shotgun, and so that kind of ended any potential for a sequel to that movie.
Yeah,
but a good movie nonetheless.
I do hope that there's someday someone does find the footage that was left out of the film that we could see. Just because I think I don't know. I would like to see more of the backstory.
4.5 hours of it.
I'm just saying, but seeing more of the backstory between the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ending is still going to be the same, but it's. I think it would be interesting to see.
Interestingly enough, that movie Ghost Rider took a lot of inspiration from Easy Rider.
Yeah.
Like them, like the Daredevils, the Ghost Rider character, like how him and his dad, lived and worked at a carnival, and his dad was a stunt rider, and like even the bike that he had, was very reminiscent of Peter Fonda's motorcycle in Easy Rider.
Real good connection there, Andy. It wasn't a movie I necessarily wanted to see. Mm-hmm. I guess it's on TV, and I'm watching it, and I'm just going, "Holy crap! This is so much like Easy Rider. The bike is practically Captain America, and then you meet El Diablo, and that was Peter Fonda,
right?"
And I'm going, "Wait, so this is cool. This isn't a ripoff. This is like a tribute or a tribute to Easy Rider almost,
or an homage."
And suddenly I felt really good about it, and wow, this. And at the end of the movie, I go, that was so stink. I would have never watched that movie because I thought it was this cartoon thing. That was stinking cool. Yeah. So I was just checking the list of some of the deleted scenes that Robert wants to see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the original opening showing Wyatt and Billy performing in a Los Angeles stunt show. Mm-hmm. Wyatt and Billy being ripped off by the promoter. Wyatt and Billy getting in a biker fight. Wyatt and Billy picking up women at a drive-in because you don't take the Harley to the drive-in. Wyatt and Billy
or at least to watch a movie, that is.
Yeah. Cruising to and escaping from Mexico to score the coke they sell. And this is the big one, the elaborate police and helicopter chase that took place at the beginning after the dope deal, with police chasing Wyatt and Billy over the mountains and across the Mexican border. The road trip out of L.A. edited to the full length of Steppenwolf's Born to be Wild, with billboards offering wry commentary. Wyatt and Billy being pulled over by a cop while riding their motorcycles across a highway. Wyatt and Billy meeting a black motorcycle gang. 10 additional minutes for the Volatile Cafe scene, Louisiana, where George deftly keeps the peace. Wyatt and Billy checking into a hotel before going to Madame Tinker Toys. An extended, much longer Madame Tinker Toy sequence. And extended versions of the campfire scenes, including the finale in which Wyatt says, "We blew it, Billy." And so, yeah, there's a lot of story there. And like, how much of that was before we ever drop in on, but like we said, at Reel 2, basically, the movie's already going and you walked in late.
And to me, it's almost like, with him, putting the money in the gas tank, that should have been like in another movie, that would probably have been the ending. It's like, oh, we made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first 2 hours of the movie.
Right, or that should have been the end of the first movie, and then the sequel is them going off and like having that adventure.
Why aren't we film directors or film editors?
Yeah.
And actually, I think the edited for TV version cuts off even more of the front of that movie because dealing with coke and stuff. Let's not show that because it might lead people to do drugs. Much like Jack Nicholson's character says at the campfire.
Oh, yeah.
And he offers him a joint and goes, "Oh no, I'm an alcoholic. I've got enough problems." That leads to harder stuff. But that really was the mindset in the 60s is, you could go out and have 3 drinks at lunchtime and come back and do spacecraft. That would be fine. But God help you if you smoked a joint at night or anything. And I'm not endorsing either lifestyle. I'm just saying that was the mindset back then is, and Robert has to help me with the history, what president put an end to 3 martini lunches?
Wasn't that Nixon? Reagan that did that? Was it? Right? I think that was Reagan that did that. Yeah, it was either Carter or Reagan. I can't remember which one.
Okay, maybe it was Carter because Reagan was a Republican, and he probably would have said, "Well, not taking my 3 martinis," but it was part of the business day. It really was. Anyhow, alcoholism was a lot more accepted than smoking a joint. And this is something Robert has to deal with me all the time is I'm like a kid with a bright, shiny ball or something. I get going and suddenly I'm way over here. And but we were talking about what we were going to have for dinner. And you're suddenly telling me about something that happened 10 years ago. Yeah, it was wasn't it? Yeah, but we still
what I'm trying to say is that we had really good ribs. That's what I had. I took 10 minutes to talk about something else, but I really want to talk about ribs.
Yeah. Oh no, we do that all the time on this show, anyways. So don't worry.
Yeah. We always seem to start off one place and end up 30 miles in the opposite direction.
Okay.
Well, one thing I do, I think that I kind of want you to touch on before we kind of wrap it up was the because there is a controversy with Captain America as a character, with him wearing the American flag. Which, if you're thinking, and today, thinking about that, it's like, oh, how cool is that? Like, how patriotic, because we have a bunch of people, spitting and cursing at the American flag, trying to burn it, give it the finger. And so seeing someone like, back then, Peter Fonda, like, oh, wow, that's cool. Someone's wearing the American flag. It's acceptable today, but it was very controversial back in '69.
People in my era still consider it grossly disrespectful to the flag to wear it on your back, to paint your motorcycle that way, to sew it on your jeans as a patch. But especially in that era, it wasn't, you weren't a patriot, you were disrespecting the flag. The good soldiers had gone and fought for our freedom, and damn it, you're disrespecting the flag, and you long-haired hippie, get a haircut, get a real job, and go join the military before then you'll change and that was widespread, it really was. It was, you might look at it and think, wow, that's so cool and so patriotic. How could you not love him? No, he was a hippie who was disrespecting it. One more thing I wanted to say real quick, because God knows I don't like to talk. Last night we were talking about the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I had a great Peter Fonda quote, but I had it out of the wrong movie.
Yeah.
It is actually out of The Wild Angels, where he's saying, we want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do. We want to be free to ride. We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded, and we want to have a good time. That's what we want to do. And I was waiting for that scene, and I'm going, where does that come from then? Because that was way too much script for me to dream up.
Yeah.
That's why you guys
were able to find. Well, I'm glad you're able to find it, not just thinking about it in your head, coming up with your own monologues and dialogue for movies.
No, those voices, they say something totally different. But it's out Wild Angels. But yeah, it was, they were considered anti-patriotic with their long hair because clearly they hadn't been in the war. And that was, right there in the Vietnam War era. And there was a lot of animosity. And as the tide changed, it was weird. First, we were hating the people who didn't go to fight. And by the time we realized how wrong the Vietnam War was, the soldiers were coming home. And damn it, we hated them for being over there fighting. And so the soldiers had a rough time. So that was just a sucky war. Any way you look at it. But yeah, it was a different time. And yeah, I definitely wasn't riding a motorcycle in '69. But I was infatuated with them already. And here I am just not shy from being 69 years old. I'm still infatuated with them.
So, right.
And there's a famous Harley shirt, if I have to explain, you wouldn't understand. So it is a real, every time you throw a leg over and twist the wick, it's a big feeling of freedom. And that's what it's about. We want to be free. Wherever that freedom takes you. Hopefully not to be Easy Rider.
Yeah, no.
That's personally not how I want to exit the world.
No, I don't want to exit the world that way either.
Yeah.
Same for me.
Any other last thoughts on Easy Rider, American Graffiti before we call it quits?
Do we need to rate American Graffiti?
Well, we already did. We already rated American Graffiti.
I'm sorry. That's all I've got.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do our ratings for each. Do you want to start us off with rating, Dad, for Easy Rider?
Probably a 4.375.
I see it. Now I see where you get it from now, Robert.
It could have ended so much stinking better.
Again, I feel the same way. Titanic.
You call 4.3, 4.25, whatever your scale is broken down to.
Yeah. Now I'm not going to quite give it as a technical score as my dad did. I'm going to give it a 4 just because there is a lot that I do like about the film, but man, that ending just gets me. I've seen it probably 2 or 3 times, and it's just you're always like thinking like it's going to end differently this time, and it doesn't, and it kills you every time.
Right. As for me, I'm going to give this a 3.5. Bruce, I know you hate me right now. I was like, get out of here.
You probably ride a Honda.
Well, I mean, I'm like, I know you must hate my guts right now, Bruce. But,
no, it's different things to all people, and there are a lot of people I wouldn't even suggest them seeing it. It's not their lifestyle. It's some of the cinematography and the film styles, the artsy fartsy stuff. I look at it and go, you could have done without this. Just give me back the 4 hours chasing through Mexico without flashbacks and the whole cemetery scene. I didn't get much out of that. So no, I get 3.5.
Because that's really like what I'm digging it for. Just like kind of like the abrupt way that they just drop us into this movie, but then also that kind of and I've been to art school, so I've seen my fair share of, really crappy art films, and yeah, that whole cemetery thing was very reminiscent of, the stuff that I watched, while I was in art school. It's like, ugh.